Hello guys, it's me back again. I'm creating another well, it's my first video, so we're going to be creating a system about an employee management system where we will have an employee with a department with that employee having, and the language which we'll be using will be C sharp, and I'm using C sharp. Will be creating an employee management system for a C sharp standalone application. So before making this application, first I think it's always better to create a database, and then after creating the database, it's better to always go into the application. So first of all, I'll be providing this in the link in the bio. You guys can go to the link in the bio and then download this file, which is a script which I have provided for the employee management system. You guys can modify this on however you want. First we have the SQL SSMS installed, which is SQL Server Management Studio, and then we also should have SQL Server installed. Without SQL Server installed, we will not be able to connect to this. So first of all, we execute this query: create database employee management, create database employee management, which would then create a database called employee management, right? And then wait a minute, if we go like this, new query. Right, first we create a database called employee management, and then once we create that, we could then switch over to the database, and let's copy this, and then let's delete this. Let's refresh, and then once we refresh, we're able to see employee management right over here. Go to table, new, go to this database, new query, paste this in here, and then we see that there are 0 tables in here. So first the thing for the first table which you need to download or to execute, so not download, to execute, is the department table, because one employee will have many departments, right? So or one department could have many employees. That could also be a thing. I think it should be like this, right? So one department can have many employees. That is how the relationship should be going, because one department could have many employees, but one employee can't have many departments. So one department can have many employees. That is how this relationship will work out. So first, because of that, we need to create the department. If not, we would not be able to actually assign a foreign key to our employees. And then first, let me check if this is recording. No, it is okay. And then after that, we will execute this query, which would then create an employee table with the parameters such as ID as the primary key, first name, last name, gender, DOB, address, mobile number, phone number, password, email, and the department ID. This department ID would be used as a foreign key to actually reference to this ID which is present over here. So first of all, let's create the employee, and then after creating this employee, we would then be able to see the tables present over here. But the thing is, we would not be able to see a relationship right now throughout our tables. See, if we were to like see this, we can't see a relationship between these two tables, which means we can't really have one department having more employees, one department having many employees. So the thing is, we should alter this table, which is this code right over here. First, we alter this table, which would then create a relationship between the departments and then the employees, whereas this would make sure that one employee would have many departments, right? And then if we was to refresh this again, and then generate a new diagram and add this, you would then see there is a relationship made between them. And that is how we configure the database for our system, right? And that is the database part done. You don't really have to execute these two parts, and this is simply to delete the department table and delete the employee table. You guys could skip this part, whereas I just kept this over here, like if you all were to do anything wrong while executing these things, which is why I kept these two queries right over here. And then after this, we could move on to actually creating our project. So let's create a new project, and then we need to create a Windows Phone app with using the .NET framework, right? And then we could call this, let me actually yeah, that's fine, let's keep it over there. Let's call this employee management application. Let's store it in the C, and yeah, let's create this. If you all have any questions, please be sure to ask those questions in the bio or in the comments. Not in the bio, in the comments actually. Yeah, if you all have any questions, please be sure to ask those questions. Next, we will be moving on to the login, which means first of all, let's make this interface, right? First, we need an text box, right? We need two text boxes actually. One is for the txt email, and then the other is for the txt password, right? And then we need two labels. Let's label this as email. Let's label the next as password. So let's select both of these two, and then well, it's easier to actually just select both of these two values at the same time using control, and then just give these two some styling like that, and the password and then the email, line them properly. Let's give this the size of 12, keep them as regular. Yeah, do that properly, and yeah, and always be to actually properly name these things as txt, because that is how the naming convention works. Naming convention actually works in Windows Forms. And we need a button as well. So yeah, we could have a button for the login, btn login, and then this could have a text of login, right? Okay, now this is made. Now that this is made, first thing we need to do is actually connect to our database. So in order to connect to our database, first we need to go to the Solution Explorer. Not the Solution Explorer, my bad. It's actually Server Explorer. Could actually these two things. Server Explorer, and then we could actually do this. Click in this thing over here, connect to database, and then once we connect to our database, once we actually go into that form, we could then go into our database or our SSMS, go to our properties, copy this thing, copy this name from here, go over here, paste this right over here, paste the server name which we copied from here onto here, keep it, don't change anything, and then once we go down here, we are then able to see our databases. Then select the database called employee management, which we created using our queries. Then once we test our connection, we would then see a message called test connection succeeded, which means our connection has actually succeeded. And then once we press on OK, our database is connected and we are good to go. Now first of all, then now let me check how long has the recording been going for. Yeah, let's keep on going. So now we could actually create our login page. So once we click on this, or we could just press on F5, and we could see the form. Takes a little bit of time. We are then able to see our form, but first we need to program this, since if you was to press on login, nothing would happen. So if you was to double click on form, we are then taken into this form right over here, btn login, click, right. So once we are in this form, we could first of all declare our connection, which means the connection is actually like an is like a way which we actually access our database using our connection. So the connection has to be the connection is actually different from computer to computer. I have got SQL Express installed, so I'll be using SQL Express. You all can download the developer version or the Express version, but I do recommend the Express version since I am also using the Express version. So first of all, let's declare a private SQL connection, right? Private SQL connection equals to 1, and yeah. So I have declared this private connection because it's cause encapsulation, right? If you guys know object-oriented methods, encapsulation helps us to actually have a secure code, which is why I will be using private over here. And then inside this initializer of the form, I will be initializing my connection. So which means I'll be using underscore con, which was used over here, right? Equals new connection, which the IntelliSense actually knows about. And as for the connection, this is my connection to my computer. So the connection differs from computer to computer, and then the connection could be found through the so this localhost is the same for the SQL expresses. So you just have to type localhost / SQL express. But for other computers, the connection actually comes when you actually install the server. So if you all have this connection string, please be sure to actually paste the connection string over here and then change the database name. So since our database name is employee management, we need to change the database to employee management, and then once we change that, everything should be good to go. And yeah, now we have actually connected the SQL or the connection to our database, and now we just have to write the login for our form. So now we'll be storing our email in which means the email which you get from our text boxes in a variable. So email and the password, like this we'll be storing those two things. And then first we will be doing some validations with the checking if the forms are empty or not. So to do that, what I will be doing is using a method called string.is null or white space could also be used, but I think yeah, I'll be using white space. And this is actually the IntelliSense working and giving me all these recommendations, right? So if you all have I think this is version 2022, if I remember correctly, this was 2022 version of the Visual Studio, right? If you all have 2022 version of the Visual Studio, this has a pretty good amount of IntelliSense in it, so I just recommend some pretty nice recommendations once you like coding. And yeah, now that we have our code written down, you could see that so with this validation, what we simply do is check whether simply check whether the email and the password has null or white spaces, right? That is what we simply do with this code. And then if this does have any null or white spaces, what we could show is this, right? We could show that missing either email or password, which means the user should always have a password or an email entered in order for them to actually process the login to go in. And if they do not actually provide any email or password, this would then be executed. Okay. And in the else block, what we could type is this, right? First we open the connection, which we actually defined on the top. First we open the connection, which means we're actually opening a path in order for us to actually access the database. And then once we open it, we then write a query. In this query, we just write a simple query: select all from the table which we created, employee, where add email, and we could type this email equals to add email, and what was the other field? It was EmpPassword, right? EmpPassword equals to add password. So with this, we are simply selecting these two fields from the employee table. That is what we are simply doing with this query, right? And then we could use a using statement, Using a using statement is actually a pretty advanced method, whereas while we use a using method, this actually executes the code statement on when we need it, and like disposes it once we actually doesn't use it. Like, so it's a pretty good method to use once we actually like opening some readers or just executing some heavy lifting code. So I think it's a good thing to actually use this. And then we could use SQL command cmd equals to new SQL command. So the command is the query, and then next we declare the connection, which is the con, and then after that we then type the code, right? It's a pretty simple code. First we do is cmd parameters dot add. So these parameters are actually so no, not just add, we need to do add with value. So the values which we are adding are add email, which is the email, and then another field which is the password. So this are these two values. So the email is this, and then the password is this. So you may ask why we are adding values like this. So adding values like this could actually save us from SQL injections. So this could actually be a way to actually have more protection, or just to have more data integrity or more data security while we are actually creating more scalable applications, if we were to give this to production, right? And then next what we do is we simply do this. So we write another using statement, right? In this using statement we open we use a data reader, SQL data reader. In this data reader we declare a variable called dr, and then this dr has a execute reader method inside of it. So using this execute reader. So using this reader method, we go through the columns which are inside of our return statement using our command, right? So if dr dot read, right, if we are reading it, and if dr dot has rows. So this has rows means if this returns a value with the email and with the password of the inputted email and the password, which means there is an employee inside of application with the email and the password which is provided in by the user, which means it has rows, right? Which means it is a valid password or an email, right? So what we could do is that what we could do is redirect our user to another form, or just show a message called login successful. For now let's just do login successful, and later on let's move into another form. And then next what we could do is, if there is no like user with that email or that with that password, we could do login failed, right? And that is how we simply create an email for our users, for our login page. But now the main thing is to actually close the connection. Con.close. If we was not to close our connection, this would have some memory leakages, so it's always good to close our connection once we open it. And now our login is actually done. So before this we should have some values inside of our employee, but before that we should have some values inside of our departments, since our ID is actually reference into this, right? So I forgot to actually write this code, so give me a minute. If after this I'll be back soon. Okay. Now that I think about it, I think it's better for you guys to also actually see this. So what we could do is insert into employee management dot, let's just do employees values. So let's insert the values. I think first we should do departments. Yeah, let's do departments first. Department, and then the values, let's do HR for the department name, and then for the department type let's do software, right? And once we execute this, you should then see one row affected, one row successfully inserted. And then if you was to select all from department, you can see that there is one field inserted into the departments. And then next we could insert into employee. Insert into employee the values which are first name, let's say John, last name, let's say Snow, John Snow. Then next we have the gender, let's just say a male. And by the way, we could only insert one value into a gender, which means one string value, which could either be MOF. And then as for DOB, let's do this 10 10 2003. Then next we have the address, let's say Australia. Next we have the mobile phone number, which is an integer. Let's just go with some random values. And then also the mobile number, again let's go with some random numbers. The password, let's just go with 123. Next we have the email, let's go with test@gmail.com. and then the ID to reference in the department, let's go with 1, right? And if we was to execute this, we could see that the one row has been successfully effected. So if we was to go and select these employees, you will then see, oh my bad, from employee, you will then see the things which have been selected by this, which has been inserted from this query, right? And then okay, now let's check if our login actually works. So if we was to run this, and first of all let's check our data. So we have an email called test@gmail.com, and then the password is 123. Let's check if it works. Login successful. And then let's check, and let's insert a wrong email and a wrong password. First of all, let's insert a wrong email. Login failed. And let's insert a right email and a wrong password. Login failed. And yeah, there is also another feature which we could add into this. So in order to do this, we could do this none. We could do that as none. And then where is that? Auto size, nope. Windows start position, let's set this to center screen. And then yeah, let's create another button, right? And then this button will just have X in here, right? Let's just have X in there. And then this text would have a huge text. Let's keep this as 20 bold. And then once we double click on this, so this is simply an exit button which we'll be making to our application. So with this button, which we are actually implementing right now, our user would be prompted whether they want to have a confirmation while they exiting the application or not. So for that we need a dialog result. So dr is equal to message box dot show, right? Do you want to exit? And we are doing a message. So and then message box buttons dot yes or no, and if they are, and if they are, that is yes or no. And we could also have some icons set. Message box icon dot, let's put a question in there, right? Okay, let's check if everything is all right. Yeah. And then if dr yes, if it's set to yes, we could then do an application dot exit thread. So using this, we could prompt our user whether they actually want to exit the application or not. So then once we actually start this again, we are then able to see no border set over here. There is no border. and then if you was to press on this, we then get prompt like this. And if you press on no, it won't exit button, and but then if you was to press on yes, this will then exit the application. And yeah, this is it for the first application. And yeah, in the future we'll be making the registration form for our employees and our departments, and then yeah, let's meet in that application. Thank you. And I hope you'll have a great time, and if you all have any questions, please be sure to ask in the comment section. Thank you.